like that requirement to take a policy loan, right? It's a little bit like, I recently had a conversation with a new client. He's about the 3rd year in, and he's had savings to pay for his premium. He's a business owner, small business. He's like, but I'm not sure where year 4's premium is going to come from, right? And so because the mindset is, I've got this 10% set aside for savings, and so this is my savings account. Well, yes, that's a great place to start, but how in the world is that ever going to work if we're going to do what Nelson says, and income is going to equal premium 20 years down the road? You're going to have to take and borrow policy loans to live your life. Just like when you're using a third-party bank, you make deposits and you make withdrawals to pay your bills. And then you make deposits again, and then you make withdrawals again. You know what I'm saying? It's that using it as cash flow. So having to kind of get outside of the mindset of it's the 10% cream on the top of your income that you can live without forever. And instead, starting to see where you're putting in, a much greater portions of your income in and out of this system. So there's got to be policy loans involved in order to really do that.
That's so funny. This fellow's thinking about where his 4th year premium is coming from. And I'm certain that I was trying to think of where my first policy premium was all going to come from. My wife and I, we were having, and I was just on fire. I mean, we were having a yard sale. We were selling stuff. I was changing things about qualified plans. I was doing all kinds of stuff. So I can appreciate, like you just said, for sure, if somebody wants to be more optimal with their savings and they're going to switch up their savings to have all the advantages of having that savings as premium into whole life policies, and you get all those advantages, and then of course you have the access, but it's a different thing to bite off so much that it's you chewing into your lifestyle.
That's right.
Use of money at some level, not just the cream off the top, like you said. Okay, so were there any sticking points for you then, Tricia, when you learned about infinite banking that you had to work through that you maybe didn't understand right away?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about this just this morning because I remember when I think back about it, one of the things that concerned me was this idea that if I'm putting my money into this policy, and then the only way I'm ever accessing it again really is through policy loans, whose money is it, right? Like, it's the life insurance company's money. And then learning that, cash value isn't really money, right? Cash value is cash value. It's a value against an asset, right? So I think there was this, like, I'm going to put my money in this policy and I'm never going to see it again except for as a loan. And it's sort of doesn't feel like my money then, right? And then recently doing some more studying about banking and all of that, you start to go, but guess what? The same is true in the bank. When you put your money in the bank, it's not your money. We like to think it is, and the average person doesn't really realize it, but it's not. It becomes the bank's money, and they owe you that money. They have an IOU back to you, but it's not any different. So once I learned that kind of helped dispel this idea that somehow it felt safer in the bank. And that was a hard thing for me to think about, putting it in a policy with a life insurance company. And I think it's just because it was foreign to me, right? And now I realize, actually, it's a lot safer in the life insurance company than it is in the bank.
And we could talk about that, but maybe they wanted you to feel like it was still your money in the bank, right, Tricia? Maybe they did. Whoever they are, but maybe they did. Right. Okay. Well, and so those are good points. Those really are. I don't think I've ever had anybody explain that part of working through the mental gymnastics of understanding So I'll go back to your example of relationships with that real estate deal, because you had a great relationship with that person. The deal worked out better than it could have for you.
Right.
It could have not worked out as well. So we've got this relationship with the bank that I don't think people do actually think through and recognize all those things that you were saying. And they certainly also probably don't know until they do vet infinite banking for themselves that, oh yeah, these insurance companies actually have the money. Banks don't have the money. They had enough money to get them started in business. Then they started using our money, and then they printed the rest or digitized the rest. Whereas these insurance companies actually collect premiums, actually get real money on real investments that they make. And so very worthwhile noting. All right. So at some point, what was your first touch with infinite banking as you researched it? Was it some podcast? Was it the book itself? Was it right away to James Nethery? What was the first thing? Can you remember?
Actually, I think it was probably the very first podcast I remember listening to was Darius and Carmen Britt with Wealth Nation.
Okay.
But unfortunately, and I love them, no disparagement to them, I didn't ever really remember them. I think they might have mentioned Nelson's name or something a time or two, but I wasn't sure if they were dyed-in-the-wool Nelson Nash people. So I just kept looking. I did like how practical they seemed to be, on their podcast. They gave me a lot of, and they had done some real estate investing like I had done too. So I totally related to the things that they were saying. But yeah, I never wound up reaching out to them. So it was funny when I met her the first time at my first think tank and I saw her across the room and I was like, oh, I've got to at least go say hello and thank you for all of the information, right? And just kind of tell her that she was a part of my journey. But yeah, it was, I really honestly can't recall the first podcast I ever listened to with James Nethery. But if you listen to his, he is all about Nelson. And he is a lot more longer format, a lot more like maybe philosophical in his delivery, a little bit, big on ideas, maybe a little less in the let's show the math and um, how to get out of debt with buying this car and how to take it over, recapture the interest or that kind of stuff, even though he'll talk about that stuff, right? Whereas Wealth Nation was a little bit more, here's some visuals and here's some pictures and here's some real numbers. So each one of those having their benefit. But I think because he spoke so clearly, and I did order, they think about it, I did order the 6-hour seminar.
Yep.
From Nelson Nash, and he kept mentioning James Nethery. And I went, oh, he knew him.
Yep.
I'm talking to him.
Yeah, I appreciate both of those resources myself. And when I saw infinite banking back in 2015, there definitely weren't as many people, in the space communicating in the way that we are right now, which is really neat. And I also have an appreciation for the gifts and the talents and the experiences that those folks have brought. I've listened to both of them. Darius and Carmen, Wealth Nation, James Nethery, Banking with Life podcast, him and Ryan and what they're doing. They've been a help to me along the way too. So I'm glad to hear that you did go talk to them, just because you and I both, we are benefiting from the works that other people did in front of us. To begin with, certainly Nelson, when you hear about Nelson's experience of how long he spent trying to communicate this to people in person, and then trying to do it in this avenue at the university level, or this avenue at a company level, or even within his own family and friends, or just hearing about his journey of getting to where now, yes, we can reference a book, and now we could reference the Nelson Nash Institute. But in the beginning, it was just there was Nelson when there was Nelson, and then there were people who personally knew him that you and I maybe got to meet, and they were our first line of connection. So yeah, I'm saying that to say that I'm appreciative as well, and I've learned a lot from a lot of people along the way.
I think that's one of the most beautiful things about this footprint is that I have come to realize is first of all, yes, there's so many trailblazers that had to go before us, right? That we get to, I feel like, stand on the shoulders of giants more or less in the infinite banking world. But also just, I am blown away that it is just such a welcoming group of people. And so every one of us are just so willing to like help one another, right? Like even you having me on here, right? I mean, we just, there's so much friendship to be had among us. It's not like a dog eat dog, oh, we're all competition, don't talk to each other kind of thing. It has been the exact opposite of that for me. I mean, this last think tank I went to, I couldn't have felt like I went to a better family reunion, I don't know, high school reunion, something where, everybody was just open arms and like, how's it going for you? How can I help you? What ideas can we share? I just love it. I absolutely love it. It almost felt like, in fact, when there were five of us in our Uber ride back to the airport, and we were like, don't you all feel like we kind of went to church together? That's what it felt like, more than a high school reunion or even a family reunion.
Unity and connection's a beautiful thing.
A fellowship of, yeah, a fabulous church experience.
I love it. I love it. Well, and what do I want to say? I want to say that I'm appreciative for this time with you because we've been on the phone talking again about your IBC journey, family, homeschooling, like family, all family meetings, all this kind of stuff. I love this all. And then you've got a taste now, having been on a round table with me where I'm trying to facilitate. Yes, I want to hear y'all's personal stuff. I want to hear y'all's professional stuff. I want you to hear mine. I want you to give me feedback. I think iron can sharpen iron in that venue, and we improve each other and we improve the learning trajectory of people that are vetting the concept and implementing the concept. So I like that venue for doing those types of things. And there's one more thing that you inspired me to mention. The round table, just having direct conversations, me and you. It was something about it not being a dog eat dog world. Well, I mean, I guess one of the other things that I had in my mind was that, no, it's still fleeting. I'm sorry, Tricia. I feel like it's on the verge of my mind. It will be on something completely different, then I'll bring it back up. But yes, I'm appreciative as well. I love the collaborative feel. Oh, that's what I was going to say. That's how I know you. That's how I got to meet you, was because people in the industry and space were willing to connect to each other and whatnot. I mean, I got to meet you because of Bruce Wayner and an IBC mastermind that we're both part of. So yeah, I'm appreciative because that's how I actually get to know you, which is really neat.
Yes, it is. And I think it's a beautiful thing because we all know that we all have a very different sphere of influence. And there are so many people who need to understand this concept. And the better you do, the better I do, the better it is for everybody. It's just, it's a little bit like being on mission.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, we're on the mission to let people know that they could control and profit over the banking function in their lives. So we're here to help answer questions and help them get started and help them level up and help them scale it. So I agree. Tell me this. You decided to implement the concept. You decided to pay a significant amount of your cash flow in premium. I think you already said it out loud. I don't think this is me saying it out loud for the first time. Something like a third. Maybe you already mentioned that, right? Significant portion of your cash flow into premiums. I did the same thing. So once you got a policy, once you paid premiums, tell me some about those beginning stages of implementing the concept personally. What do you remember? What did you then have to work through that was still between your ears? Any of it.
Okay, so the first year, I remember I was probably a good thing that I was busy working on these properties and had too much going on to pay too much attention. But I have always been one, I would pencil in every single Monday on a spreadsheet. In fact, I still do it. I think only recently I've missed some Mondays. But Monday morning, my routine is to go in and pencil in where my cash value's at, what my loan availability is, what my outstanding loan is, so that I can watch the spread of, has the cash values grown higher than the interest on the loan? What's the spread between that? What's the tailwind, the daily, the monthly tailwind? It's a little bit obsessive and ridiculous, okay? But I did that because I was so wanting to make sure that this concept actually worked. And so I have spreadsheets of it. I guess it's a little bit like the charts on my wall, right? Some things don't change.
That's exactly what you were making me think of.
So I can go through and like literally hit my cursor on my computer and watch the numbers grow now for several years. But that first year, I think it was like watching grass grow or something much slower, right? It just didn't, it's like, really? This is so slow because we're such an instant society, right? Like, I want to see this thing overnight. This is not a get rich quick thing, people. This is the long-term thinking. And fortunately, I think continuing to read, continuing to study, continuing to know what the guarantees were in the future kind of held me steady on that and be like, it's okay. It's okay. This is year one. I do not expect this to look amazing in year one. And yet, I still had access to capital, right? There's still money there. Wasn't what I paid in, and it's just now breaking even and breaking all of that, now that I've been in 5-6 years, right? But it still blows my mind to this day now, though, when I go back and look and I go, look at what I've been able to do with this, even in the first 5 years. I have financed so many things, and now I'm beginning to finance things for my kids, not just my stuff. So it's starting to grow in that way. And that gets real exciting when you're able to, do your kids' car loan or help them take over student loans or credit card debt and different things in order to be able to help them, and know that it's all staying in the family. And that has become such a focus of mine, that whereas maybe when in the beginning it started, I didn't really realize all that this was going to do to transform the whole family. It was more about, how am I going to survive until I retire, right? It was all about me in the beginning. I didn't have the vision for the whole thing. But the more I started to learn, the more I was like, wait a minute, this does have a death benefit. Oh, wait a minute, this does mean that we can take over the banking function for the entire family eventually, or anyone who wants to participate in this. And so now it's about keeping the money in the family instead of it going out to third-party banks of people we don't know who and what we're supporting. So that has become just an absolute piece of this that just blows my mind every time I think about it, that this is something that's going to benefit for generations, because it was not what I started out with in my mind, I guess, in the beginning.
That's a big point of connectivity for me as well, is the intergenerational aspect. That gets me excited. It gets me animated when we're talking anything in the realm of family meetings and family business and family loans and family goals. I love all that stuff. And then something else you said, I also encourage people to document. Now, they don't have to document like you every week, okay, of every year for the rest of their lives. But because for some people, Tricia, you know this, some people, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care what the cash value does because they know that it goes up. They're not going to check it until they are ready to make their next policy loan or whatever. And that's fine. Infinite banking as a process can be however deep or, right. It could be, they could go as high or as low as they want to. But I like a certain amount of documentation, because now, having done it for 10 years, I wish I'd have done some things a bit earlier. But I have documented some things along the way, whether it was a timeline of, oh, well, we used our policy to pay these taxes then, or to take that vacation there, or to do this real estate there, or to do that there, and be able to see, looking back over 10 years, like, what? That's a lot of stuff, actually. That's a lot of things that we did. And then same thing about values. At least once a year, I've got a snapshot now of Here's what our cash value was, death benefit was, the outstanding loan, et cetera. And then the next year, and the next year, and it's cool. I mean, I like that. I like seeing those numbers go up. That is cool to look at.
And I look at it now and I just go, if I would have not done this 5 years ago, there is no way I'd be sitting in the situation I'm in now with access to capital for the things that I need in life on my own. Do you know what I mean? I would still be living paycheck to paycheck. That paycheck to paycheck is in the rearview mirror. And that is a glorious thing, you know? It's just, and it's not because I've done anything all that different, made all kinds of money or anything. It's just doing the process, not being afraid to capitalize, having access to it there to take over bills I was paying anyways, paying to somebody else. And now instead of that money leaving my hands forever, it's actually still sitting in my hands. It's come back to me because I've just continued to make those car payments or those student loan payments or whatever I was going to do anyways. Take a family vacation, pay that back, and it's there again. Imagine that.
So would you give some examples? Would you say some things that you've used policies for?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have definitely used them for federal and state taxes. I've used them, I paid off all my student loans that way. You know, I waited for a little bit because everybody's talking about forgiveness of student loans. I'm like, do I take that over or not? Because, you know, if they suddenly,
I know.
you know, but no, I finally did. I was like, phooey with this. I'm taking this over. Especially when I found out, I looked at them and there were like all these little loans stacked up together, and the amount of principal getting paid down once we were back to paying was nil. I'm like, these will never go away. So yeah, I took those over. Goodness, what else? I know there's some other things. My trip to Colombia this January to get my eyes done, I did that with a policy loan. I have not done my car. I've held off on my car. There's a reason for that. And it's not because interest rate necessarily, but you know, I want that access to capital for some other expenses that I have coming up. So I was just like, I'm just not going to do that one because that one doesn't necessarily make too much sense to me just yet. But I have another policy that I have utilized strictly for family banking, where I have done two of my boys' cars and a credit card, two credit cards for a daughter and a friend. So those 4 items. And what's fun about that one is that I'm not the one making the payments, but that money's flowing back into the system, and they are the beneficiaries on that policy so that they will reap the benefits from that one day. I always tell them it's a little bit like having kind of an automatic supercharged savings account for you one day, because someday I will not be here. Not if, when, and they're all, and of course, it's probably gonna be far longer in the future than they want, hopefully. But you know, it's keeping it in the family, because that money could otherwise be going to a car dealership or a bank or the credit card company instead of coming back into the family to be utilized again. So I just absolutely love that. But what I was going to say, one of my favorite things that I have done is every Christmas, I have gifted to my children a vacation for the family. And I have used the policy loans to do that, pay them back over the course of the year so that the money is there to do it again next Christmas. And that has been one of my favorite things that I, as a single mom, never thought I would be able to do, that I would be able to go rent a house, take my family to the lake, you know, or whatever fun week we have, and do that, and not have my adult children have to pay. So that has been just one of my favorite things to do.
Beautiful. I love that. So many examples, so many cool ones. At some point, you made a transition professionally. When did that strike you? How did that strike you? You're doing infinite banking, but then you go pro. What's that about?
Oh, well, as I said, I do everything round robin. So when I was working at the church, um, also flipping houses at night and weekends, and then that kind of came to an end. But I had a long commute. I was 45 minutes away from the church. And that meant like on a Wednesday morning, I had to be there at 8:30 in the morning, and we were there till 9:30 at night, driving home 10:30, by the time I got home. Next morning, have to be there at 8:30 in the morning, and it was exhausting, just plain and simple, exhausting. While I was there working that job, I lost my mom and my dad. They both passed away within 10 days of each other. That summer was incredibly difficult for me because I was in charge of all of the kids ministry and there were several staff members that I oversaw, but we were short-staffed, and I really struggled to give up the responsibility I felt for that to actually go visit my parents when they were really ill. And so there were just some things that were going on there that were hard for me personally. And I was like, I just can't keep doing this. I'm killing myself. I was not home with my youngest, as much as I felt like I still needed to be. I felt like I was missing out on a lot of life just from the commuting, and it was just hard. And I was like, I got to do something else. And I had, of course, started the real estate flipping, finally decided I'm going to go ahead and get my real estate license. I went ahead and did that. Of course, I knew I wanted to do infinite banking, but I went and did real estate first. Why? Because I just didn't have the confidence that I thought I could do it. Like I was just like, that was a more known thing, right? Infinite banking, become a practitioner. Like, who knows what that's going to look like? So I do it the hard way. I go study for my real estate license. I take the exam. I go through a couple of years of learning from a broker how to do this, and that's great. And I still am a licensed real estate agent, and I still will do real estate until I can't do it anymore, probably. But I have really, like, this has become my real focus now. So I did finally say, you know what, this is what you really love. Why aren't you just doing it? So I said, okay. And I took my life insurance license, signed up for the practitioner program, went through all that. James has mentored me. And then I've gotten so much extra mentoring from so many just lovely people in the space that have helped me along the way as well. And it's taken off. So, we'll see where the Lord has me next. But this is a commitment for me without a doubt. Like, I always think of it as this way. Like, I've enjoyed helping people in real estate to buy their home or whatever, because that's like the biggest purchase they'll ever make, probably in a lifetime, right? It's one of the biggest anyhow. And so there's a lot of moving pieces to that. And if I can help somebody get through that, I love that. And yet it's a one-time transaction, right? Doing this is a lifetime, it's a generational transformation for their whole family if they really catch this concept, grab it by the horns, and run with it. And I want to be part of that. Like, I love that. That is my favorite thing, when somebody really gets their head around this concept and says, oh man, I can produce generational wealth here. I can make the lives of my children and my grandchildren like a step ahead of where we started. That's, what I want to do. So here I am. Takes me a long time to figure it out and get there, but here I am.
I love it. And was it at a think tank that you've told me that you met Bruce, and then that's how we know each other, is through Bruce Wayner? And was it at a think tank, or how did you get connected with Bruce?
Well, actually, it was through a friend at the think tank who got connected with Bruce, and then he connected me afterwards.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Who was it? Was it Becca? Who was it? That was the
Jean-Louis Belay, and he has not been on.
That's right. I've not met him, not got to talk with him. I've heard his name a couple of times.
He's in South America right now, so he can't really operate in this space outside of the country right now.
I got you. That's right. That's what it was. Cool. And that's how we know each other. All right. So that catches us up to speed. Where could people, I mean, to current date, right? So like, where could people reach out to you to find you?
Well, right now I have a website, buildsmartmoney.com. You can contact me there, or you're welcome to email me at ibctricia@gmail.com.
And that's Tricia. Yep, I was just getting ready to make sure we got that. And that'll be down in the show notes. I'll have that contact information in the show notes below so that people can get in touch with you. I would like to transition to these rapid fire questions when you're ready, but I want to give you a chance. Is there anything that you wished I had have asked that I didn't ask? Is there anything else that you'd like people to know or feel like they should?
No, I think we're good. I think we've covered a lot of territory. So just hit me rapid fire. I'll do my best. Can't guarantee. I don't know what's coming.
I love it. Okay. What is a favorite hobby of yours?
Oh, you know, I'm such a dork that I don't really have a good hobby.
Well, you can't be a dork then. I'm pretty sure that dorks all have hobbies.
Reading and learning. No, actually, if I ever give myself the permission, I love to ride my bicycle. Thus, I have a bicycle up there on my bookshelf.
I've seen that. I've even already wondered. I wonder what her books are, because I love collecting physical books. I love building a family library. So I've already noticed that up there. Okay, what is one of your all-time fictional books or movies, but a fictional one?
Well, I already kind of gave my book for George Eliot, Middlemarch, but favorite movie? I'm going to say Secretariat is one of my favorites.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Do you have a hidden talent that people may or may not know about?
I know how to mud walls. Do sheetrock.
No question that that's a talent. No question that that's a talent. I know that much. I don't want to touch it.
I did it on stilts.
Did you really? I think that's so neat when you see people working on stilts, mudding the wall. What's one of your favorite quotes?
I'm going to give you a Bible verse instead of a quote.
Please.
This was so pivotal in my ability to step away from my W-2 job at the church. And it was a verse that I have hung on to ever since, because quite frankly, I know there were people who thought I left working at the church because I was sure I was going to do so much better and make so much more money. But I was scared to death. I was scared to death that I was going to starve. Let's put it that way. And the verse is, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, neither be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And I remember reading that verse. It was actually on one of our pastor's walls when I went in to tell him that I felt like I needed to leave. And when he didn't show up at the appointed time for our meeting. And I was scared to have the conversation as it was. And it was in a big, beautiful picture frame behind his desk. And I sat there and he was like 10 minutes late. I bawled my eyes out just reading that. I was like, thank you, Lord. That is the confirmation I needed. And not only that, but I think I looked at that and I was just like, that's actually like in command language. Like it is obedience for me to be courageous and not to be dismayed and not to fear, but to trust that he's going to be with me wherever I go. And that has been something I have just clung to tenaciously at times, because when you're an entrepreneur and you're in business by yourself, there are times when you're scared. Where's the next thing coming from? You don't know, and you're really having to trust. So that's I'll call that my quote.
I love it. Is that Joshua? Am I remembering right? That's in Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I love it. And I love that last part that you said about it. It's not a suggestion. We're told to do that. Be that way.
Yep.
Don't think about it. Don't maybe do it. Yeah.
Not just a promise, it's my command to you.
Exactly. Exactly. What is one of your go-to healthy habits?
Oh, do I have healthy habits? I have some unhealthy habits like coffee.
You've already mentioned a couple. I mean, but I don't want to say it for you. I mean, reading is like, that's
Yes, I would say yes. I am a voracious reader. So I guess that's maybe mentally a healthy habit. Uh, I love to get up in the morning and spend that time early with my cup of coffee, reading, journaling. Um, but I would say other than that, like it's probably not a habit enough, but walking and biking.
yeah. Well, that journaling one, I think plenty of folks, especially folks that be listening to us, this kind of information, they could understand that cup of coffee with a book, but journaling, that's a huge one, I think. All right. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Beach or mountains?
Oh, that's a tough one for me. Probably the beach.
Picnic or restaurant?
Oh, I like a good restaurant.
Who was the most impactful person in your life? Why?
Ooh, ooh. This needs to be a real person or author.
I mean, maybe, maybe not. You have me intrigued now, so you answer how you want.
I would probably have to say my best friend, Kimberly. Um, in large part because I am a completely different person now than I was before we were friends. And a lot of it's because she was kind of walked through my divorce situation and a lot of challenges and has made me a far more confident, um, independent female woman, being able to stand on my own 2 feet, I think a little bit. Um, and spiritually too. She's been a spiritual mentor to me as well. So yeah, I'm gonna say
Fantastic.
really.
What's the most interesting place you've ever visited?
Hmm. You know, I've been to that's a tough one. The most interesting. I've been to lots of interesting places, but I will say, um, going to South America to Colombia was very interesting. Uh, uh, Particularly, we went to Comuna 13, um, where people were basically under Pablo Escobar. But just the whole culture experience there in Medellin was very interesting to me. And I think in part because I never would have chosen to go there on my own as a vacation. Or, when I think of going on vacation, I think of going to Europe and all of the, typical places that we think of. I want to go to Italy. I've been to London. I love London. I've been to Northern Ireland, and that was great too. But just the whole cultural experience of Medellin was really beautiful. Really, when you say interesting, I guess I would say very different for me.
Fantastic. All right, and then this one from my boys. My boys asked me this. This is typically my last question. Would you rather be able to breathe underwater or fly?
Oh, I think I'd rather fly. I don't care for the water.
Interesting. I always love getting that answer. My boys enjoy when they get to watch people's answers once the videos go
Although
live.
I will say I'm a little bit fearful in water, so if I could breathe, I suppose that might help me enjoy the water more. But when I think about what I would see underwater, I'd rather fly.
Okay, see there, you thought through it so deeply, and I could see that she's really thinking through this. But then why did she take so long to say if she doesn't like water? But then, okay, now we got the calculations that were running through your mind, obviously. But well, what if I could say? That's so fun. All right. I'm going to give you the last word. Your contact information is going to be in the show notes. Anything that you'd like to leave folks with?
Oh, I just want to encourage people all I can to just, um, you know, take the time to read, to think through this, to learn this, to reach out to a good coach, whether, that's Jesse or me or any of the other practitioners, because it is so worth your time and effort to do so, to just transform not only your own future, but the future of your whole entire family potentially. I mean, it's just, so I just want to be an encouragement to people not to be afraid and take a good look before they dismiss it.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks for taking my phone calls here recently, letting me know more about your journey. I love hearing about your family meetings and how you're helping clients. I love that you've been getting in on the round table with us. So again, for everybody tuning in, show notes, that's where you got contact information for Tricia. Check that out there. She has been on that roundtable episode. I would encourage you to watch that. My encouragement is that you live and leave a lasting legacy. You can find me at durhamtalents.com. Have a great day. Take care.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yep.
You do a great job of just making it easy. So thank you so much for all that you're doing, because I think so many people are appreciative. I mean, there's going to come a day, and hopefully not too far future, that I'm going to have a podcast too. So I'll have to do the favor in return. It'll be fun.
I want to get a hold of that first episode just as soon as it's available, please. I can't wait.
I think this has been great as far as, you've made this easy. You've made this comfortable. I mean, obviously outside of a few rapid fire questions that I'm like, blah, 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 I don't know what to say. But
Well, good.
Let me ask you, if you were back in my shoes in the beginning, like a year in, what would you do differently than what you did when you started?
Do everything faster.
Not be afraid to take steps forward.
No, and I don't really feel like I was either. But like when you say some of the things like, I want to get my branding right, like I'm not going to tell you do that, don't do that. But just like I've evolved as a person, I'm not married to, I don't say the same things. Yeah, now I say, live and leave a lasting legacy. I didn't always say that. I started out saying something very different. That I actually still believe and I still like, and I don't care that I recorded that, and that's still going to help people, etc. But I would say fail faster, do faster. Anything that collapses time frames, and that's not news. You're not hearing that for the first time from me, but that is my answer to your question. Is I feel like I've always done a good job the whole way, but if I consider what things looked like 5 years ago or even 5 months ago, it's not where I'm at today. So if I could collapse those time frames by going faster, I should, because I'll be better sooner.
So,
do you do anything in person, or do you pretty much all your marketing is online through social media and podcasting stuff?
I love in-person stuff. I love being at the front of a room. I guess that's the teacher in me. And I do that, and I should do more of that, try to pursue more stages and more places and connect with more people in real life. I say in real life, but at the same time, I know that evergreen content that could be on a format like YouTube is the forefront for me. For me, that's what I've decided is the forefront for me. And I'm not saying that it's, people have different thoughts about this. But for me, I knew YouTube was going to be the place where, hey, that video, it could be here 50 years from now, 5 generations from now. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, I loved what you said about it being something for your own family even.
that's right.
But with that kind of a mindset, you need to compare that. And I'm not where I want to be. Like, I can handle more clients. I can do more, right? But what I'm saying is I sat out in my yard with chickens in the background in front of an iPhone in my first videos because I had stuff that I knew was good and I wanted to get out there, and I did it. So if you got value out of this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel here, and I'll see you on the next video.